now going to be spread across for development under Jonathan. Sure P. Now, when they were trying to discuss where to fund in government, ICT was not present. They didn't invite anybody from ICT. What had happened was the minister was supposed to see the VP. And then I went with her, we got there, and then they said, oh, he was busy with this thing, Sure P. It was money, what to do with the windfall that comes from increase in the price of petrol. So they told him, he said, oh, he remembers. Okay, let them just join us so that he would be able to talk to us afterwards. That was how we got there. And that was how we realized that there was money for maternal mortality. I had no problem with that. I think eventually were supposed to have gotten 29 billion. But ICT was not even represented in that room. And if you're talking of maternal mortality and you want to put money for it, you better put money in ICT, because if this country is connected, then all the mothers will be connected to the kind of information that will even prevent that kind of problem of mortality. So you see, the ICT sector of government has its head in the right place. I must confess that. When it comes to the issue of convergence, as of today, since 2007, when convergence had already become a reality and the whole world was already preparing for convergence, because convergence is driven by technology. Nobody had any choice. As the technology for broadcasting, for telecommunication and ICT began to converge and become one single technology, it automatically meant the same issues, regulatory issues, policy issues started to arise. And then there was no point segmenting these different sectors. But, so all the countries in the world started to prepare to make the best of the opportunities and the advantages of convergence. And Nigeria started on time. By 2005, we were already talking convergence. There were already proposals from NDC to the ministry. The ministry was making proposals to government. And the most important part of the convergence for the ministry is the governance. That is government. And some of the simplest things that are creating problems is that broadcasting is still put aside and communication is on the other side. Meanwhile, they are supposed to have converged. The market itself has converged, but governance has not converged, even till today. Instead, politics is being played. Ministry of Information did not want to let go of some of the mandate of NBC that is really the same with NCC. They don't want to let it go. That is the technical and infrastructure side of ICT. It's supposed to be moved to NCC. And then NBC will be left with the content regulation. But the content regulation is now supposed to be deepened to and extended into the communication networks, not just the broadcasting networks. And everything was put in place. I worked on it. We prepared a table on how everything should go. In fact, President Jonathan gave approval in principle. But the minister for broadcasting at that time, I don't need to mention his name, it's just for you to know that there was a minister, because if it wasn't him, it would still be another person. So it's not, the issue is not the person. I looked at it that, how can I lose something that is under me? I must hold on to everything. And he opposed it. They had a heated argument. In fact, he was being rude. The president had to caution him. And then the president said, you know what? I'm giving approval in principle. But he still made sure that they sabotaged, because till today, approval in principle since 2013 has not come to pass. And that other things to do, that was not even the only other side. If you look at the NIDA law gives NIDA regulatory power. NCC has regulatory power. NICOMSAT went to sponsor a bill. They want regulatory power. everybody wants to regulate ICT. Whereas NIP should be developmental. Get its funding and use it for developmental purposes, building infrastructure, encouraging the builder. It's not that they should be building. They should be encouraging. You use the little money to fund the kind of initiative that will stimulate the private sector to invest in the build-out. That is how it is done. But if you're taking that little money and you're using it to build, what do you call them? This kiosk, ICT kiosk in the rural area, you're using it to supply. You're just wasting that money. That money will achieve very little. The money should be seed to stimulate and encourage private sector to build out. That is what they should concentrate on. They should forget about regulation. Leave regulation for NCC, that is the regulator, and then let them regulate the whole of ICT. And then, then Galaxy. In fact, Galaxy had no business in government. Yes. In fact, from the very beginning, the purpose, I mean Nicomsat, not Galaxy. I know the special reason for creation of Galaxy, not Galaxy, Nicomsat. I mean, you know, Galaxy is sort of like a satellite, you know. It's Nicomsat. When Nicomsat was established, I read the whole policy. The whole purpose was government would put the seed, create it, and then let the private sector run with it. But there was an MD who felt if this thing goes to the private sector, he will lose his job. So he was fighting for his job. So he started arguing that no, that there will be security problem. That's always the example. And then he kept fighting to remain as a service provider. When the national telecom policy that was enforced there had said it shouldn't be, government shouldn't be an operator. In the case of Galaxy, Galaxy's role is special. It was meant to harmonize procurement and infrastructure, necessary infrastructure of government for ICT. So that is why you see it as a government agency that seems to be providing service. But really, it is streamlining and harmonizing government. So there's nothing wrong with Galaxy, so long as they remain within the framework of that mandate. So it is always all about politics, always all about money, always about power. These are the things. Otherwise, Nigeria should have gone far. But once we got GSM, we started congratulating ourselves. We've done it, government. Oh, we are okay. No, we're not okay. You can see our position network readiness index. We're just beginning. And everything that's necessary, you can see our people want it. Adoption is high. But comparative to infrastructure, it is low. I think our adoption, we're almost as high. We're reasonably high. We're probably, I think, around number 80-something or 90-something. Whereas, on the average, we fall to, but when it comes to, I think, government adoption is a bit low. So somebody needs to get government to focus and realize that everything we are looking for in development is in ICT, because ICT is the infrastructure of infrastructure. I could talk for so long, but yes. Let me stop here before I begin to bore you.
Thank you very much, Eula. That's some very deep insight, which I'm sure everyone here has benefited from, and we've understood how some of these wide-ranging problems have emerged. And I'm sure that money is itching to give a response, but I would like to take her on a different dimension of the gap. No, she can't. I know she can't. I know she can't. But I'm going to also challenge her, as someone who works in government, not even as a representative of government, but as somebody who works in government. That what is the challenge with our government officials that prevents us from reimagining how policies should be evolved? So, for example, the earlier discussion this afternoon when I came in was about education. And there were some very good insights classroom can be flipped into, from a physical structure into, something that you can even get from your home, which technology enables, right? And we're saying that we need to be developing policies that enable those type of solutions to become widespread and actually solve the problem of access to, say, educational facilities, health facilities, things like that. So I'm saying that, why is it that it's become very difficult for government officials or government structures to be able to imagine those type of solutions and evolve the policies that will actually make this happen?
Thank you very much for that question. Honestly speaking, Nigeria is a complex nation, very complex, and sometimes when we look at how development have happened in other countries, other continents, we seem to be comparing apples with oranges. Look at that's Nigeria, okay? So many different languages, so many ethnic groups, so many, different religions and all of that. We're a diverse country. And so, when we are doing policy, we may not necessarily, copy what worked for Ghana, for example, or what worked in Rwanda. However, technology is technology, but we need to look at it carefully and arrange what is fit for our purpose because of our peculiarities as Nigerians. So, having said that, why is it so difficult for government officials to rethink, to reinvent, and to, whatever your concern is, I understand it absolutely. What is wrong is not just one thing. We have a multi-dimensional situation in our country. We have, inconsistencies across board. Policy inconsistencies, SOMAS and all of that. We have this regime today, and this is the passion, this is the focus, this is the vision of this regime. And then everybody's busy, And then we make some progress. And then in 3 years, in 4 years, maximum 8 years, that regime changes. And then with a new set of government officials whose interest is totally different from what that creates, that lacuna where we cannot build on past successes. We have fantastic policies in place, and when they were being implemented, we could actually see impact on the economy, on the well-being of the people, and all of that. When that changes, you see that we are moving back like 10, 15 years. A new person comes with his own idiosyncrasies, and how we could do that is to build institutions, people have said, not individuals. But up till today, in this country, everything rallies around the individual and not strong institutions that, whether it's Mr. A or Mr. B or Madam C that is occupying that position, there is a program, a national program, that implementation will be consistent on, because we don't have so many changes at short notices. Yes, reviews can be done because we're talking about a sector that is so dynamic and changes happen so fast. Yes, reviews will be made to address the present realities, but the basic, infrastructure, the basic foundation is there. And you know that you have 4 years to spend. You can give yourself, some targets from that national strategy, if I can call it like that. So these are some of the issues. Thirdly, is the fact that It could be because we're so diverse as a people that the love of this country, I think, is lacking. Is my thinking, I may be wrong, but this is what I have observed over the years. And when you are very enthusiastic about what you do and you are passionate about it, you are the exception. It's the exception. Also notice that if individuals will not benefit directly from implementing some of these policy directives, they are just not interested in it. So that's another problem. We have issue of capacity, okay? We have skills gap. And these are not very serious issues if we are patriotic, if we want to build on past successes, if we want to pass the baton, and then we want to do the relay, and we have a common destination as a people. This is lacking. And what is government? Government is made up of Nigerians, people, ordinary people that get to work there. And what do we see across the country as the attitude? Our attitude to work is hopeless in some cases. And when you see that maybe 2% of the entire civil service is actually moving the service, the rest, 88%, I don't know, what we are doing. So these are some of the issues, and it's not all bad, it's not all sad stories. Even that 20% that's doing the job, of course we know there's this, natural thing that the 80-20 principle, okay? That, 20% of the people do 80% of the work, and we have, a lot of improvement from the younger people that are coming into the system, but before they spend 2 years, 3 years, they're already, So, it's scary, really, it's scary. But I think that with technology, we can actually overcome many, many, many of these challenges. And that diversity can actually be turned into strength for us, an advantage. Because then we'll be rich in culture, we'll be rich in content, and the population and the demographics, should also help us to take advantage of, the benefits of ICTs. And the young people are doing wonderfully well. I give it to them. I'm one of them, by the way. So then the bureaucracy, that would be my fourth point. The bureaucracy itself. It's not that bureaucracy is bad. You need it because civil service, you're not there, you are not impressing anybody. Nobody knows you're there or you're not there. But if you do your work, and he does his, and the other person does his, in base like that, together, it comes up to something. And that can be felt by the people, Then you can know that, yes, government is working. If we look at different states, you see that the bureaucratic bottlenecks that happen within the federal government itself, the federal civil service itself, you see that some state governments have worked around it. They have been able to eliminate those bottlenecks to their barest minimum. There is that other one that cuts across every level of government. That one is there, very capital and big. But some states have been able to overcome, some of it, walk around and maybe introduce some private sector principles, approaches into governance at the state level, and they've been able to at least improve, yes, the development of their states, to very, comparable to some other states outside Nigeria, in Rwanda and so on. But at federal level, the fact that I'm Yoruba, but I'm married to an Ibibio man, so I can say I'm a better Nigerian than a Yoruba woman that married a Yoruba man, and then everything around them is about us, Yoruba. You know, I don't want to, that person is Igbo. I won't work with him. I won't cooperate with him. It's the turn of my tribe to be the minister, for example. So if it's another tribe that is there, I will not support him. You know, things like that, you know, still happen within the service. And these are some of the issues that mitigate, you know, against us doing the right things and, you know, having the right attitude to work and all of that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Moni, for that very honest, very candid view. I should say it's a very jarring reality check, because while we're talking about going to the moon, we seem not to have come out of our villages, if I can rephrase Ali Mazrui. Frank, I'll take you on a different dimension as well. So we've talked about policies, how government rolls out these policies and how they affect the sector. Now, I want you to talk about a different side of the policy, that is from the policy of the consumer. And Ms. Moni mentioned part of it when she said, you know, the thing she said about the unique nature of the Nigerian. So, for example, we know that when GSM services started in Nigeria, everybody will agree that one of the main reasons why it succeeded was because from day one, they said they were going to do prepaid billing. Because if they had gone postpaid billing, all those companies by now would have gone bankrupt. So there's the behavior of the Nigerian consumer, or should I say the Nigerian citizen, which we may agree that is not the same behavior that we see in Europe or in the West, or even in China or India or some of those places. So can you give us, you know, because we're doing gap analysis here, so we're trying to understand, you know, what are the gaps from the consumers that an operator sees, for example, which, you know, have not helped the rapid development of technology in Africa. Can you give us a sense of that from your own experience?
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I can try. As an operator, my experience is limited to the sector that Galaxy serves, but I'll speak generally. I don't think consumer behavior is that much different, if you ask me, across, maybe in comparison to the West or the East and so on. I think basically the traits are there. In an earlier comment, I mentioned the fact that there is the hunger to consume these services. There is also the purchasing power of the consumer. So if you talk about the issues of postpaid or prepaid billing, definitely the popularity of one of those options is seeking to, you know, what is the purchasing power of consumer. I think largely a lot of the demand you see needs to be harnessed further. I also mentioned that before. So I think our policies should seek to, again, enlighten the consumer more, empower the consumer, protect the consumer, and then just harness the sheer volume of what we have in terms of people who are hungry for the kind of services. Now, if there's a concern in terms of maybe the quality of services given to the consumer. In fact, I think it's the other way around. You find a situation where the consumer is exploited, largely because, again, for all the issues that have been mentioned, the policies are there, but they're not implemented properly. And the consumer or customer is always the fallback point. If you push too much and you're facing increased cost of production, you're facing multiple taxation, you're facing destruction of infrastructure or any kind of negative incidents around your capacity to provide. The instinctive thing is to pass it on to the consumer. So it's either the prices increase or the service quality becomes poor. So in the end, I tend to, I find it difficult to say there are consumer behaviors that need so much improvement in the sense that they actually prevent the more rapid development of the sector. I think it's the other way around. I think we should spend more time enlightening the consumer. I think there are things going on now within the space of ICT that we're not taking full advantage of. At some previous occasion, I mentioned the fact that you might think it's, I was sitting down there, and this is no reference to gentleman, and somebody comes up to me with form so I can write my name and so on and so forth. Yes, he probably was asking for something, but we don't realize the significance of data. We have not been enlightened enough to know that the current pivotal economic value is data. Even data of people who have been disenfranchised, you're talking of maybe internally displaced people and all that. There's value in that data. There's value in the fact that that data can be used for purposes, that will support the business case for development, for growth of business intelligence and things like that. So our consumers need to be empowered even further to drive an increase in terms of competition, quality of service, and that's the direction I would like to spend some time in. One section of the ICT policy is calling to focus consumers, consumer protection, empowerment, enlightenment, and so on. That is something that we need to drive at national and sub-national level. We need to make greater demands of the service providers so that they have no choice but to improve, and then they value the services that they offer, then become more value. And that in turn spurs the capacity of the consumer for economic activity, and then creates a further demand for higher services and so on and so forth. So that I don't know whether that's the context you wanted, but that's the way I would like to look at it. I will again call attention to the fact that the sheer hunger and ability to convert these services to improve our lives is key, and it is essentially the commodity we have to work with. So as much as we can harness that, it is to that extent that we will see growth and development. It's to that extent we will see policy evolution, policy changes, policy improvement. It is to that extent we will see policy execution and compliance. If there's no demand spurring the sector, those things will largely remain paperwork and general talk. So.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I think we're beginning to run behind schedule, so we'll try to speed things up. We'll just go one round talking about the solutions, and then we'll take some questions from the audience, and then call it a day. So in terms of solutions, let me start with Ayola again. Is political will the biggest problem that we have?
In terms of solution, because what we're really talking about here today is just the policy administration side, I believe, and possibly also we've not said a lot about regulatory, but regulatory, of course, is a logical extension of policy. And the first thing when we're talking about digital Africa, when we're talking about ICT, put it in a phrase, not too young to run. It is young people, old people know nothing about ICT. ICT is the new world, is the millennium. We had a situation where this young man that sits on top of an empire Mark Zuckerberg, came into Nigeria, a man that controls billions, our government wasn't even aware. And he himself was not interested in meeting our government. He was interested in meeting who? The young people. You understand? The young people are the future of this country. They've been saying it since I was young. Now I'm old. You see, we say it, but we don't act it. We say it and then we give young people a knock. And we say, wait your turn. But when it comes to ICT, the old people have no clue. And even I am one of the old people, but one of the very few exceptions that even have an idea. But I will not even classify myself as really being there. Because Mark Zuckerberg, I'm like 21 years older than him. And he is no different from the young person. It is his colleagues here are the people that should be competing with him. They are his colleagues. That was why when he came, he wasn't ready. He didn't need to. He didn't think of it. He didn't even need to go. They're the ones that understand ICT. They're the ones that are looking to the future. They're the ones that are in this new world. We were in the archaic world, and that world is dead. So we need to educate, bring up, provide opportunities for our young people to also come into governance. So that's one, because that's not the major one. The major thing is this. When you come to evolving policies, I'm thinking maybe National Assembly should look into the possibility of passing a policy administration bill that would prescribe the best practices for evolution of policies and probably also implementation. Just a law across board, not just for ICT. You see, because how do we make policies? A few people will sit down somewhere, think that they know everything, and then they will write policy. You understand? Sometimes they are informed, sometimes they are not informed. No consultation. You cannot have policies without consultation with all the stakeholders. You cannot just decide that integrated power project. You did not talk to the players, you didn't talk to the general public, you didn't talk to the consumers. You just bring up this big project, 16 billion. I'm not talking about the politics they're playing. I'm talking about, did they consult with you? Did they consult with me? So if the thing is failing today, because government is policy administration, and policy administration is only as good as you consult with all the stakeholders. If government policies and laws, it is mandatory by law that no policy shall be made in Nigeria until all the stakeholders have been consulted in accordance with this law. Then you put things in the law that will now say the process. You must put together your consultation paper and throw it to the public. You must hold public hearing in 6 geopolitical zones. You must take into consideration what everybody has said before you begin to evolve your final policy. So it will be holistic policy, it will be a well thought out policy, it will be a policy that everybody has contributed into. You understand? And then it even becomes easier for that policy to work. So that is the second area. We need to bring young people into government, we need to consult them. That was one. And then policy administration needs to be carried out holistically with consulting with everybody, and in particular the young people. I think, let me just leave it at those two things. Those are things I think are really important for us to evolve, adopt, and develop the right policies.
Thank you very much, Ayla. Moni, let me come to you now, and let me say to you that, as a high-ranking government official who is there when decisions are taken, of course, how does government see the technology space in Nigeria in the next 10 years, 20 years?
Thank you very, very much. How do we see technology in the next decade, 10, 20 years. Then the so-called young people today will then be in their middle age. If they are 20 now, so in 10, 20 years, they'll be in their 40s and all of that. So that will be, moving closer to the relics, right? I want to say that. Ayola said he belongs to, the early. I don't want to agree totally with him because, honestly speaking, it is not these young people that actually started ICT. They had a foundation that they are running with. Do you agree? And some of the forefathers of the internet, for example, or the people that invented computers, they are no more today. But what is working is that those ideas, those initiatives were properly documented. And because of that, generations can build on where they stopped, all right? And then innovation happens, and we're where we are today. So don't say that old people have no clue. This man sitting down there is not a young man, but he has a clue. So about where do we see it in Nigeria or in Africa? Definitely, we can see bright lights, lights at the end of the tunnel. I'm very positive, about developments, especially that will be brought about by ICTs. However, I'm afraid we won't have any more privacy in the next 10, 20 years, right? Privacy will be something that will be very, very expensive, to get. Because then there's no hiding place. As we are here now, I don't know what Google is doing about, what we are saying here today. Because they're actually listening. And they are seeing us. So, I see technology in Nigeria, evolving. And the greatest achievement will be in software development, applications. Why? Because Nigeria and Africa, in general, failed to key into the previous industrial revolutions, right? So we don't really own technology when it comes to, using metal to put stuff together. We don't own that. But like we were educated on Monday, that this technology actually started from Africa, right? But they have innovated and they've done so much with it. We lost out. So we don't own that technology when it comes to hardware and all of that. But the engine, what drives those machines, we're talking about artificial intelligence and all of that. What drives all those technologies is the software, and that is what comes from the human brain, to program the machines. I see our young people, they are very enthusiastic about that. They are very, very vibrant and innovative. And they're doing stuff. I see Nigeria, becoming the hub for these apps because so many of them are being done even today. So in 10, 20 years, I see a lot of value, coming from Nigeria in terms of software development. As you can see, we're already, topping the chart in adoption, usage. Everybody carries mobile phone. So I see in the next 10, 20 years, a Nigerian phone, all right, that we actually be manufactured here. We're not going to reinvent any wheel because, the technology is already tested and tried, but there will be innovations. And I see that in Nigeria, because the market is here, the demographic support it as well. Very many young people are here. So I see OEMs springing up in Nigeria and actually doing some production here in Nigeria. So it won't be all import. Because with the ease of doing business and some of the guidelines that are coming out now from this present administration, they are also emphasizing local content, even in ICT, so that the local participation will improve. as opposed to we're just consuming. Okay, we will be able to add value, and then we'll be able to increase, the contribution of the ICT sector to the national GDP, in the next 10, 15, 20 years. I also see education improving, because I think it cannot get worse than it is right now.
Hopefully.
So, yes, I am positive that in the next 20 years, 10, 20 years, we, Nigeria, we're very good with adoption. We're going to have a paradigm shift in the way we teach and learn in this country. And I want to pray seriously, too, that we're able to get the right policies in place that will ensure that our educational system is totally overhauled, and we take advantage, the latecomers advantage. The West and Far East, they've done all the hard work, invented a lot of artificial intelligence and introduced it into education. You can have virtual learning and all of that, lab and so on, and done virtually. I believe that Nigeria will be able to get the right policies to bring such technologies into this country so that everybody will have access to education. Right now, the technology is very expensive to acquire. But with the ingenuity of our young people, and with the right environment created by those policies for them to begin to, build apps that can assist in getting education to the remotest, corners of Nigeria and Africa, then we'll have more people getting the necessary education, good education, because it's now, it's going to be democratized. People will be free to access a good content, if we adopt this ICT very well. Okay. So I'm positive about it. However, the security issue is still a concern for me, In the next 20, 30 years, there'll be serious, we need to do laws, laws that will get people to be safe online, so that that when you commit a crime, you can actually try it and be punished for it.
Thank you very much, Moni. I'm very happy that you tied education with the vision of the technology, because I think the education is the foundation, and then we build on top of that. We're running out of time, so we're going to have to hurry up. Frank, you have to be very brief, but help me answer this question. What's the single biggest problem we need to solve today if we're going to actually have this Africa Renaissance, technological Africa Renaissance? What's the single most important problem that we need to solve today?
Okay, that's not a question that's a question that requires some time, but I think, when you say Renaissance, whatever funny Ghanaian name you call it, but you have to trace your steps back to what is the vision that is actually driving national development. You need to start. The singular thing that underpins behavior, regulatory behavior, attitudinal change, cultural behavior, focus in an organization is something that pulls people in the same direction. IT is an enabler. If you're able to articulate a vision that pulls the 20% in this country in the same direction, and you're true to it, you will come up with the catalyst that drives every other thing. There is no amount of policy, regulation, master plan, blueprint, and so on. Once people do not believe in a single common vision, they will find ways around it. We have heard of countries that were built maybe after they suffered a massive conflagration. Maybe they're coming out of a world war, or some atomic bomb was dropped, and so on and so forth. So they come together. IT is what enables them to get there. It's one of the things that enables, but there is seriousness and focus, whether it is railway they are building. There is focus to say one of the best ways to integrate a country is install railways so that people can communicate. There's so many other things that flow when you have a concise vision that drives. Now, if I haven't run out of time, there was something I was going to speak to that. Having said that, to be honest, You see, one of the things that also helps is that when you are not getting results and the situation becomes adverse, economic recession, people don't have jobs, there's insecurity and so on and so forth, you are forced to step back to say, okay, how do we get out of this mess? That is something that usually helps people come together and begin to look at creative ways on how you get out of the problem. For me, the issue has never really been how much budget you give to ICT ministry. Because the budget you are giving to works and housing or any of the other ministries are going to implement programs that benefit the people. And they have IT in them, by the way. So it's not a question of gather all the budget and give it to this guy to superintend. No. Let the ministry create the right policies, defend them. Yes, the piece about policy administration and all that. But even if you pass a law on policy administration, or the fact that when you need to monitor policies, review them and all that, if you don't have a driving vision that people actually want to belong in this journey and so on, they will just pay lip service to it, you know. So,
okay, thank you very much, Frank. If you permit me, I thought it would be good to have 3 questions from the audience. I hope. Okay. Okay, let's say 2. So it will be one from this side and one from this side.
One from here?
Yes, one from here and one from here. Okay, one lady, one gentleman.
Is there any lady asking from this way? No? Lady this way? No? Okay, so we'll take from the back benchers, then we'll come to the front bench.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I really want to appreciate the organizers of this program. I'm going to be very fast. The truth is that what is Nigerians' main making is also our undoing. If you look at it, tribe is a blessing to Nigeria. Religion is a blessing to Nigeria. But all these things have generally contributed to our challenges in life. I remember a friend of mine, he's an American. He told me that he had a gas plant, and then just because of small leakage in his gas plant, someone took him to court, and then that gas plant was closed up. I remember a friend in the UK. She was like, she was in internship, and just a week before her internship, she gave birth, and then she entered into maternity leave, and because of just that 1 week, she was asked not to receive her salary for 1 year. I'm not saying that is the best, but these are strong systems. I think one of the major challenges we have in Nigeria is strong systems. It's not about being so wicked, because to me, someone that worked for how many days and just 1 week to the end of her this thing, she went for maternity leave, and then you totally cancelled her salary for 1 year. Definitely, the good thing about that is this. It's going to make that particular person, even when she wants to plan about conceiving again, she will be very, very careful. And that is what strong system can do in a country. Strong system can do in our ICT. Strong systems can do in Nigeria. So I was trying to say that one of the major challenges we have in Nigeria is strong systems. If we can have strong systems that are intelligently good, they will help. Then secondly, I wanted to comment. We're talking of, sorry, this English is too much for me, but I'll try. Renaissance of the past. Renaissance of the past. Are we not going to focus on the ones we have present while we try to recover the past? Look at something like Digital Africa. The first day we came, a man spoke of how Turkey, when they have programs over there, the government will send them down to nations, sponsor them to go and bring people to this program. And then this program is going on like this. How can the government help something like this? Because the truth is this. Tomorrow now, if we don't sponsor and aid some of our inventions, this is a startup. It started 2013. If the government does not sponsor and aid something like this, 10 years time we'll start thinking of Renaissance of Digital Africa Conference or Renaissance of drone making or the rest. There are so many setups. Like I heard of a guy that makes drone. I have a guy that makes solar system. I also heard of a guy that makes some little children that fix bulb, energy bulbs. Some of these things we leave it before you know now, 10 years time, another people will collect it to start fighting for renaissance. So please let us just, let us just advise ourselves. Yes, the past is gone, but we can still recover the past. But what of the present? What are we doing to hold it down that we don't lose it? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You've made your point. Thank you.
Okay, and the final one.
Thank you very much. I'll just go straight. I agree with Madam. Everybody is calling you money. I hope I can also call you money. But okay, you try to explain to us that we have good policies in this country. So it seems to be that then the problem might be enforcing it. So what is the problem with enforcement? You mentioned that politicians come and go, but I know that the civil servants remain, and that the civil servants really are the ones that are supposed to drive the policy. So what, for example, I'm looking at some very low-hanging fruits. Why is it that I can only have access to internet, for example, if I'm in Lagos or Abuja or Port Harcourt? What is the policy that is supposed to make that happen in my village, for example? Why is it that DSTV, sorry for mentioning names, multi-choice, for example, cannot deliver internet on their decoder if we are talking about convergence? Why is it that, for example, we know that we have .ng domains in Nigeria? Why is it that we cannot force every civil servant to use it? Why is the civil servant more comfortable interacting with me on Yahoo Mail or Google Mail or something like that that is hosted in another economy? What is happening to our local content in terms of hosting data? What is happening to, for example, pronouncing, for example, that you cannot capture biometrics in Nigeria if you're not going to be synchronized with existing biometrics? What is the problem really? Is it truly that politicians go and come and that is the problem? You know, traffic localization. Why must we be sending a mail to somebody in front of you and it goes to US and come back before coming to you? Those are the issues that I want to understand here so that I will know what the problem is.
Very much, sir. Could you round it off, please? Thank you.
I've rounded it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Just allow me to say a few words to this patriotic Nigerian. Thank you very much. You didn't tell us your name. I appreciate all you said, and you haven't said anything new. All these issues is being addressed one after the other. The issue of why is it only in the cities you can have access to the internet? That is not totally true. Because if you go to Benin, you have access. If you go to Kano, you have access. However, his own village, oh, your village. Okay, okay. No, even villages, you know. Now, I'll tell you something. There is the National Broadband Plan, which is, 2013 to 2018 broadband plan is being reviewed as we speak now to see how we'll connect the next 50 million. Now, you agree with me that telecoms is capital intensive. The telcos in this country, when the sector was deregulated, you know how much the licenses were sold, you know, and companies had to bring in their funds to establish, and Nigeria didn't have that infrastructure maturity, you know, at the time that the telecom sector was deregulated. And these people had to now come and start from the scratch to even start digging and laying their cables. And like the policy expert, you know, said to us, the issue of multiple taxation and all of that, I don't want to go over all of this, yes. But all these issues, you're right, they are all being addressed one after the other.
Okay, thank you, Moni. I think you answered it by saying the inconsistency in the implementation of policies and the policy clashes. I think we've discussed that. So thank you very much, fellow panelists. Thank you very much, members of the audience. Thank you very much, Digital Africa. It's been a very good discussion, and hope to see you next year. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you so very much, panelists. Please step forward for the photographs for this panel. Thank you very much to you, Suleiman Alika, to you, Moni Udo, to you, Frank Ubodaga. Thank you so very much. You've done as well. And of course, Mr. Ayolaoke, thank you so very much. Smile for a license. Thank you. So this would all amount to child's play and another jamboree if there's no direction to what we have gleaned here and what we look forward to. Permit me invite Mr. Romanus Ima for the presentation and adoption of the Communique for Digital Africa 2018. Mr. Romanus Ima, please. No, not. Mr. Romanus, is it ready? If it's not ready, we could move forward to something else. Okay, while we wait for him to come, please permit me invite all participants for the startup pitch to please come forward. All the participants for the startup pitch, please come forward to the stage. Please, could we give them some accolades as they come to encourage them? Thank you there. Please just file forward. Like the speed of 6G, just file forward. Thank you very much. So these are the future of the country. This represents the future of Africa as a continent. Please, a round of applause to all of them for taking that step forward. You did not participate, you cannot clap. Haba. Thank you so very much. So from amongst all of this young men and this beautiful lady, we have two winners. After a careful scrutiny of all your pitches, the winners of the Startup for Digital Africa 2018 are, drum roll, Farm Cap. Could you step forward? Step forward now. Forward is forward. And the second winner, where were you when Jesus came visiting? And the second winner is Homes.ng. We thank all of you so much, our distinguished participants. Thank you. Next year presents another opportunity. And looking at your age, you'll still be very young that year. Go ahead, improve the works, and let's see what happens. So could all the others come this way while we sing Stand Up for the Champions, for the Champions, stand up. Stand up for the champions, for the champions, stand up. Please take a bow. Your prizes will come to you as it should be. Is there a stairway that way? Thank you so very much.
Thank you all for your patience and for being here up until now. I want to say we have lunch ready for you, and it will be a smooth sail from now on. Romy, are you ready with the communique? Okay. Romano Sima, please put your hands together.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 2018 Digital Africa Conference and Exhibition Communique. The 2018 edition of the Digital Africa Conference and Exhibition was held on June 5th to 7th, 2018 at the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center, Abuja, and had as its theme, Africa Technology Renaissance. The conference had in attendance high-profile government officials, regulators, ICT professionals from across the African continent, eminent scholars, ICT enthusiasts, and stakeholders, solutions providers, exhibitors, tech startups, and students. Participants were exposed to the marvels of technologies and how these have been affecting our lives and reshaping our economic, social, cultural, and human environments. The 2018 edition of Digital Africa Conference and Exhibition is a series of what has become Africa's foremost annual consumer technology show. Like the previous editions, and in line with the vision of the conveners, this year's event provided the platform for participants to take a critical look at the past, present, and the future of the continent with regards to science and technology. Excuse me. The aim was to determine where Africa lost her leadership position in global science and technology rankings, and why the continent must rediscover herself in the technology space, especially against the background of the global acclaim that Africa is the mother of civilization. This year's conference focused on such areas as Africa's current position in technology deployment, business of technology, fintech disruption, the future of taxation and technology-driven government revenue, technology-driven government revenue, agriculture, status and innovation, and, of course, education. The conference provided access to an enthusiastic audience eager to understand where Africa was some centuries ago, where she is now, and where she's expected to be tomorrow, and what should be done to get to this place. We therefore most sincerely congratulate all the speakers, resource persons, and young innovators at the three-day event for sharing their knowledge with us. We congratulate all the delegates for joining us in exposing to the authorities in Africa the greater promise provided by emerging technologies and how we can apply them as a people to gain comparative advantage and provide solutions to our developmental struggles. The 2018 edition of Digital Africa Conference and Exhibition ended with participants unanimously making the following observations and recommendations as the communique as their little contribution to the efforts at reawakening Africa's technology consciousness. 1, the conference observed Africa's position as the cradle of civilization, meaning that the continent had a rich and diverse history of the science and technology developments. There is need for renaissance. There is need for rebirth. Therefore, African countries must devise the quickest means of relaunching the continent back to technology reckoning so as to compete well with technologically advanced countries. Africa must position herself, leverage the benefits provided by emerging technologies. Africa must position herself to leverage the benefits provided by emerging technologies to provide much needed solutions to her developmental struggles. Towards this, the conference tasks African governments to show the political will in making policies that will encourage seamless adoption and application of the emerging technologies and ways of doing things, as well as providing the enabling environment to ensure the smooth selling of ICT initiatives and projects. We are concerned with the state of things in Africa with regards to economic development and the standard of living of the people. We agree that there is a positive correlation between the level of development in information technology of a country and the level of economic development of that country. Therefore, there is need for African countries to do more in the building and deployment of technology applications in order for them to enjoy concomitant level of economic development. We believe that Africa is a continent blessed with opportunities and great potentials. We also believe that the ultimate goals of government are to empower and accelerate the ability to make informed service decisions and to help in achieving desired goals and objectives. And so, because effective governance plays a key role in mitigating the challenges associated with emerging technologies, the conference agreed that there is need for collaboration in ensuring that these emerging technologies are harnessed successfully. In our effort at uniting Africa's interest in technology, development, and usage, we must appreciate the fact that a number of countries on the African continent are poised to reap the economic benefits of increased investment in science and technology. Investment in this sector has helped stimulate economic growth in regions that embrace innovative solutions as catalysts to accelerated development. Therefore, we call on African countries to invest more in science and technology to enhance accelerated development. Excuse me, please. This is not my laptop, so I'm having issues controlling this. We commend the federal government of Nigeria for its commitment to ensuring the use of innovations in advancing the adoption of science and technology, a process of national development. We also commend it for its plan to set up a creativity and technology council to support innovation and startups in the creative industry. We salute the government's plan to strengthen the technology and innovation ecosystem in Nigeria by supporting the development of innovation hubs in partnership with the private sector. We urge other African countries here to do this, to borrow a leaf from Nigeria and others that have initiated this move. We advocate that there is need for African countries to start looking inward for technological rebirth and advancement. Nigeria in particular needs to deploy a new academic curriculum, develop a new academic curriculum that will drive innovations in the country and move the country from analog to digital economy. Africa, no doubt, was there at the beginning, but somehow we lost out. As a continent, therefore, Africa should depend on research to move on. We believe that without proper research, we will lack knowledge of how to deal with present and future problems confronting us, and will still confront us as a continent. We therefore advocate that African countries self-fund research programs instead of relying on international agencies for research funding, as this is dangerous to national security. Policy formulators and drivers should stop being secretive about things that aid national development. The solution for every country's problem, they say, is within that country. We must change the way we create our school curriculum and syllabus for our educational system to be revamped. Our children should be exposed to the technologies of today as early as in their primary school level to help build a technological Africa of our dream and the technology renaissance that we all crave for. The fourth industrial revolution is creating new realities for the educational sector globally. There is therefore the urgent need for African countries to face the reality, embrace and inculcate technology in our educational planning to enable our children acquire the necessary technology needed to succeed in today's knowledge economy. This would equally change the existing mentality of our children just going to school to obtain a certificate. Disruptions driven by technology are evident in the financial sector, and these disruptions are growing by the day. We have to face the reality today that a big shakeup is imminent in the entire financial ecosystem. Banks should therefore take advantage of disruptions happening in fintech and endeavor to provide good services to their customers, as people care more about the services they get than the banking institution. In Nigeria, we have seen that the Treasury Single Account, TS, and the Bank Verification Number, BVN, have contributed to whatever successful savings the current Nigerian government has made. It shows that technology has a lot of positives it's bringing to governance. We call on government to deploy more technology in its taxation processes, as it is evident that the country has no coordinated approach of acquiring data and collecting tax, explaining why there is multiple taxation of individuals and corporate entities in the country. The conference agreed that the agricultural sector in Africa is one of the key drivers of the economy. It has the potential to open up more employment opportunities, create wealth, and guarantee adequate food for our rapidly growing population. In Africa, digital agriculture is an emerging field focusing on the enhancement of agricultural and rural development through improved information and communication processes. As a continent, we need to take advantage of this and properly position ourselves in this emerging opportunity to grow the economy. Technology has made food production an all-season project. It is time, therefore, for Africa to rise up to the challenges of producing adequate food for our populace. Towards this end, our farmers should be trained and retrained on the use of digital technology for the enhancement of food production in our countries. Government, in addition, should provide or even subsidize farming technology tools and would facilitate adequate production and supply across the continent. Finally, the future of our continent depends on the creativity and innovation of our youth. Technology, innovation, and youth entrepreneurship cannot be ignored. African governments should, as a matter of importance, continuously invest in that future and encourage our young minds to be both entrepreneurs and pacesetters. Governments should show enough commitment to stimulating growth in their economies by investing in their youth. This is the cardinal pathway to building sustainable growth. This communique is compiled on our behalf and presented by Mr. Robima. And I want to ask here that if there is any person that is against what we've tabled here as our communique, let that person say nay. Otherwise, if this is what we have agreed here, can we all say, can we say aye? Aye. Okay, so the ayes have it. So thank you very much. We've adopted this communique this 7th day of June 2018 by all participants at the Digital Africa Conference and Exhibition 2018. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Romanus Ima. That was well done. We appreciate you. Next, and I believe the final activity for today, up here on stage, I would like to make welcome the General Manager of Digital Africa Global Consult. She is a lawyer by profession. She is a woman of many parts. Her hobbies are endless. She is a trainer, a coach, a mentor to so many. She's a warrior. She goes for it and she gets it. Everything she sets to do, she gets done. I am elated and very pleased to present to you Barrister, I know she will have my head for this, Barrister Norma Ofodile. You're welcome, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Have we had fun? It's been 3 days of knowledge sharing, 3 days of networking, 3 days of good food. I like good food, and I'm sure we all enjoyed the meal. Did we? Didn't we? We did. So this is the closing. We didn't. Okay, so we are rounding up the conference. This is, it took us a year. This is 1 year of planning, 1 year of meetings. I call it torture chamber meetings because my boss loves perfection. And until you get the message, you're not going to leave. He will draw it to make sure that the outcome is perfect. And I'm sure we've seen perfection in the job that we've done so far. This is the 6th edition of the Digital Africa Conference and Exhibition, and every year we keep growing. And we couldn't have done this without the support of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Obanjo. I would like to specially thank the Honorable Minister for Communications, Barrister Adebayo Shitu, for his personal support. For the past, since he took office, he's been really supporting the vision of Digital Africa. And with that comes, with the Ministry of Communications, they have been our strategic partner since this vision started. I would also like to appreciate the governor of Kaduna State for being present here and the governor of Kano State for sending representatives. I would like to appreciate the ambassadors of India and Egypt. I would also like to appreciate our other sponsors and partners and the EVC of Nigerian Communications Commission, the DG of NITDA, the DG of NBC. I would like to appreciate Zenith Bank, BDT Communications, Charms Access, Charms PLC, InterSwitch, MTN, NCC. I would also like to appreciate the keynote speakers and the panelists, the moderators, the compares, and the distinguished participants. I would like to make welcome to the stage the volunteers from the University of Abuja. Can you get your guys come up here? Get everybody to come up here. Without them, we couldn't have really handled the logistics of this event. They volunteered to help the Digital Africa Vision, and they've been here for the past 3 days doing the best that they can. While we're waiting for them to come up, I would like to appreciate the DA team members. Uzo, where are you? My right-hand man, please come this way. Without Uzo, I cannot achieve anything. I would like to appreciate Eddie. Eddie, where are you? Are you here? Please, this way. Riare. Riare calls me the general. Where is Riare? I would like to appreciate Riare. She has been my backbone since she joined Digital Africa. Please come up, thank you. While they're coming up stage, I would like to appreciate the directors of Digital Africa Global Consults. They saw the need for a transformation in the ICT ecosystem, and they decided to make sure that this vision will come to fruition and there is no going back. I would like to first appreciate Dr. Mayuri. Dr. Mayuri is one of our directors in Germany, Mr. Reginald Hanotu, and Dr. Yamaweli. Then here, I would like to appreciate Bomayani. Please come up stage, thank you. Mrs. Liz Donaholu, Mrs. Phil Okorafor, and I would like to specially appreciate Mrs. Margaret Woherem. She has been here for the past 3 days, staying from the beginning. Ma'am, please, we need you up here. Yes, please. No, there's this. You know, she's been here for the past 3 days. She supports the DA vision. She's our backbone, and especially of the backbone of our chairman, Dr. Evans Woherem. I would like to specially invite the chairman, Dr. Evans Woherem, to come up stage. He is the convener of this event, and he has a big vision for Nigeria and for Africa. So, do we have a photographer, please? Let's quickly take the picture so we can. Okay, yes, so.
Right after this photographs, we'll please ask you to come this way so we have a group photograph of all participants, the directors. Please indulge us on this one, please. Please, everybody, can we move forward? This is the last. Please, please, please. We are about closing. We ask you, please, for the international community to view how many of you were here and how impactful this meeting was. Thank you very much. I need to do this. And as we are taking the photographs standing, we will respect our nation with the national anthem as we take the second verse as our closing prayer. And that will be the end of Digital Africa Global Digital Africa Conference and Exhibitions 2018. Thank Thank you. Thank you, please. You can actually have your selfie moment too. If your arms are that long, a selfie wouldn't hurt. Yes, hashtag DA2018 or Digital Africa 2018. Hashtag DA2018 or Digital Africa 2018. Please let us maintain silence as we take the second verse of our national anthem, which is also our closing prayer and last activity for this year. O God of creation, director noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow and live in just and true. Great lofty heights attain to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Thank you for being here. Goodbye and see you in 2019. Thank you. It's lunchtime, dinner time. Please go upstairs and you have the opportunity to network with some of the speakers who are here available. Thank you very much. Thank you. We appreciate you and we are ready to welcome you 2019. Thank you.